Hey YouTube, so this is going to be my review of Scream 4, which I went and saw this past Saturday. I'm going to try to keep this spoiler free. If I do say something that's a bit spoilish, I'll try to let you know. I think for the most part it's going to be spoiler free. So yes, Scream 4, I was actually pleasantly surprised by this film. I went in with low expectations, not thinking that I was going to like it, and I did. I enjoyed it a lot. When I first heard that Wes Craven was going to make another Scream, I was kind of disappointed because I liked how he kept it with like the trilogy and the rules, and so I was really disappointed that he was going to make another one. But it was actually really good. Maybe the whole waiting like a decade or so, I don't know how many years it's been, but that might have helped it. But I wouldn't say it was as good as the first Scream, but it was definitely better than Scream 2 and Scream 3, which I didn't think were that good. But there were definitely things that I liked about it and things I didn't like about it. Definitely the thing I liked the most were the characters. Getting to see like Sydney and Dewey and Gail kind of all back together after all these years was great, and they have really good chemistry together. I always thought they had good chemistry together. And I even liked some of the new characters, which I didn't think I was going to like them either. But I did. I especially liked, I don't remember her name, but Emma Roberts' character, I liked her. I thought she was a really good kind of fleshed out character. And I was actually surprised by Emma Roberts and her performance. I was really skeptical when I found out she was going to be in it. Because the only thing I've seen her in is Nancy Drew, and I was like, why are they casting Nancy Drew in a horror film? But she was really good. I mean, I thought her performance was pretty decent with the material she had to work with and the type of character that she had to play. So I thought she did a good job. And another thing that I really liked about the film was kind of its commentary on technology. They use a lot of technology in this film, which I thought was really great. And it kind of just showed, how much we use technology in our society and how integrated it is to our everyday lives. We use it for everything. The only thing that bothered me as far as the technology part goes is that everyone had an iPhone in the movie, which probably everyone in the world except me has an iPhone, which might have been why it annoyed me. But it's kind of, I don't know, it was kind of obvious product placement a little bit, which is kind of annoying. But just the whole spin on the technology of it was great. Another thing that I liked about the film was kind of the gore factor, I guess. It was definitely a lot more gorier than the past Screams. And in some scenes that worked, and other scenes not so much. I mean, I guess it depends if you're a gore fan. I'm not a huge gore person. Not that I can't handle it, but I just feel like every horror movie nowadays, mainstream films particularly, just go for the gore factor, and it's all about the blood and the guts and the ick factor, and it kind of takes away from the story and the characters, if there even is story and characters in these horror films anymore. But, it worked in the context of the story. I think there's only one scene where it bothered me, and that's when, this might be a bit spoilerish, but one of the characters gets killed, and you see their bedroom, and it's just, the walls are covered with blood, which I felt was a bit unrealistic. Because it's kind of it reminded me of all those mainstream horror films that just use gore, which might have been the point, because this film had a lot to do with remakes. And it seems that every horror film coming out nowadays, again, mainstream, is a horror remake, which I don't get. I don't get that trend in Hollywood. There's even a line in the film that goes something like, the only horror movies greenlighted by Hollywood nowadays are remakes, which I believe, because looking in these past years, it's all been horror remakes. And there's even a scene where Hayden Panettiere's character just lists off all the horror remakes, and there's a bunch of them. And at first I couldn't decide if what Wes Craven was saying about remakes, was he saying they were bad, or they're just annoying, or what, but then I remembered that he did two horror remakes of his original films, which were The Hills Have Eyes and Last House on the Left, which I personally feel are two of the better horror remakes that have been made these past years. So I didn't really know what his message was on remakes. Although he didn't direct the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, did he? I think I read something where he was really upset that they were remaking that, which if that's true, I can't say that I blame him because I'm sorry, but that movie was terrible. It was terrible. Sorry if you like it. I might be biased because I love the original so much. But again, that's kind of another one, like with all these other horror remakes, just focus on the gore factor, which is annoying and unnecessary. And another theme in the film, not just horror remakes, but another trend in the horror genre is sequels. They talked a lot about sequels, and which makes sense because for some reason Hollywood likes to make an infinite number of sequels for these horror series, which I don't get either because they're so unnecessary. Maybe two or three, but by the seventh and the eighth, they're going to outer space, and all of a sudden, the heroes and villains have superpowers from out of nowhere, and, I just can't help but think, is Hollywood that desperate for ideas that that's where they're gonna go? Again, this is like mainstream horror. I'm sure there's some independent underground European films that are extremely good horror. I've seen a few these past years, but mainstream Hollywood horror has gone down the tubes. I think we need to go back to the days of the 70s and 80s horror, 'cause that's when they were good. That's probably when all the fresh ideas were. Um, but speaking of sequels, to go completely off Scream 4 for a second, I heard they're doing another Saw movie, which I kind of hope is not true because I think the last thing we need is another Saw film. Like, does anyone even care about Saw anymore? I know they keep making money, which is why they keep making them, but I thought the last one was pretty good. They tied up all the loose ends. What more can you do? But I think the producers said that they were going to go in a new direction with the Saw films, which I don't know which new direction you would take with the Saw films because they're kind of all about trapping people and again the gore factor. But I don't know. It's my personal opinion that Lionsgate needs to stop beating a dead horse and move on to something else. But we'll see. Anyway, but Scream 4 was really good. I recommend that you go see it, especially if you're a horror fan and if you're a Scream fan. It was definitely one of the more decent horror films to come out in these past years. If you have seen it and you want to let me know what you thought, go ahead. You can leave me a comment or you can subscribe or a friend or whatever you can do on YouTube. So let me know what you guys think.